Instructional VHSs weren't just for aerobics and home improvement. Some covered video games too. Like this one from 1989, How to Score More Points on Nintendo Games. This video is somewhat infamous, largely because Sean Baby covered it, and it's never a good sign when there are red flags on the cover art alone. Aside from the bad grammar in the title and not bothering to make the Top Gun logo fit into the box, whose first choice for video game advice is Kodak Video Programs? That and a video about video games that needs to advertise having actual video game footage is like a steakhouse advertising it has actual steak. At least those are the only problems. It's not like they made a video called How to Score More Points on Nintendo Games and put 2 games on the cover that don't have point systems. And this is fairly minor, but as someone who fit the target demographic for this stuff at the time, using the word win to describe doing well at a video game, particularly a single-player one, always seemed pretty odd to me, even though some books at the time also used that terminology. I don't know, it has that air of,
"How do you do, fellow kids?"
What?
That said, I am pretty bad at Nintendo games, so I need all the help I can get. The first 3 minutes of the video is spent advertising other Kodak videos, because Kodak couldn't decide whether to advertise to the kids watching the video or the parents who paid for it. If you show kids clips of roller coasters, they're not going to beg their parents to buy the roller coaster video, they're going to beg their parents to take them to the park so they can ride it themselves. Barring that, you could always learn how to play soccer against a team that apparently doesn't have a goalie, play a VHS mystery game based on the works of Isaac Asimov, because that's totally something elementary school kids would know about, or pretend that there were people below the age of 40 who thought yo-yos were cool. This isn't really get better at video games music as much as improve your golf swing music. The video was narrated by World Video Game Champion Skip Rogers. And yes, the words do have to echo, it's part of the title.
Hi, my name is Skip Rogers, World Video Game Champion.
This title was awarded to Skip Rogers by Skip Rogers. 4.5 minutes in, the first video game appears. And credit where it's due, there is in fact video game footage. It looks like the game was recorded to a VHS and then moved to a computer, but hey, at least it's not a camera pointed at a TV. It's already apparent Skip has no idea what to call the Robot Masters.
9 junior villains stand between you and Dr. Wily.
Aside from the badly looped animations that appear for less than half of the Robot Masters, except for Bubble Man's, which is not a bubble? Why did they use this? Skip immediately gets an item name wrong, and the editor cuts him off.
Keep your eyes open for the E-barrels. They give you extra energy when you eat one.
Also note how the World Video Game Champion needs to use an E-tank on the first boss. Next is Flashman, where there's an almost immediate hard cut to avoid showing Skip taking damage. This is one of the few times he says something useful, using the metal blade to quickly destroy Flashman. Granted, he never explains that all the Robot Masters have certain weaknesses, or that they all have certain movement and attack patterns, but it's something. Bubble Man's stage is just Skip stating the obvious.
Jump real fast on these. Watch out for the spikes!
And for the boss fight, he doesn't even mention that Bubble Man is weak to the metal blade. And he screws up the name of his weapon.
Kill Bubble Man and get the air gun.
Just assume that anytime I say, Skip says blah blah blah, assume that I'm actually saying, the script Skip did not write himself says blah blah blah. Because I know that the credits say Skip wrote this himself, but there's a long list of video game consultants at the end of the video, and my belief is that they wrote most of the script. By which I mean all of the script. Skip spends exactly 5 seconds talking about Airman's stage.
Time the jumps for each cloud.
before stating the obvious again.
Jump the tornadoes to kill Airman.
This is followed by stating the obvious for Clashman stage.
Hit Clashman in the air to kill him, but watch out for his bombs.
Did he think he was playing a Japanese copy or something?
Hey, what was the name of Crashman's weapon again?
To get the Heat Man, use the C weapon here.
Ah, right. Thanks, Skip.
Use the jet ski to get over the lava with no problem.
You mean item 2? That thing you didn't explain that you got because you beat Airman?
Then he just doesn't use Bubble Man's weapon even though it's Heat Man's weakness because... For the Woodman stage, Skip apparently just tries tanking shots from everything. Then there's a cut where, based on his health, I'm guessing he died trying to get to the boss room.
To kill the Woodman, watch out for his shield, and don't use the metal weapon.
I don't know why he said that. Metal Blade does decent damage against Woodman. And then he also doesn't use Atomic Fire, even though one fully charged shot of that outright destroys Woodman on normal. And no, he's not playing on the difficult setting.
Next is Quickman, where Skip gives his own name for item 3.
Use the elevator to get the extra man.
Look, ordinarily I wouldn't be so hard on the item names, except Mega Man 2 tells you the names of all of them when you get them. There's a rare bit of useful advice about using the time stopper to get through part of the stage. But then he doesn't use it at all for the Quickman fight. A fight so quick they cut away before Skip dies. And that's it! Either Skip was worried about spoiling the Wily stages and the other Robot Masters, or he just didn't get that far.
Am I the only one who finds it weird that his advice was to use the special weapons, even though for most of the levels he didn't use the special weapons?
Splatoon starts with some advice that's actually kinda useful.
You can't make it through this game without a map. They can't hit you when you switch rooms. Here are the explosives. Leave explosives on the bridge.
But he didn't show the route to find the explosives, which looks like this, or the route to go from the explosives to the bridge you blew up, which looks like this. Kind of important information to leave out.
He then explains where to find important items for the next section, but stops doing that in the tunnel portion. If not for that map taking up half of the screen, his advice would mean absolutely nothing. Speaking of, Skip shows a map for the final level, but doesn't mention that the level is timed or that there's a boss at the end of it.
Maybe Skip is just really worried about spoilers. Even though most of the people who want tips on these games are probably stuck at the parts that he's not talking about.
The last level? That's not a tip, Skip. How is that supposed to help me become a world video game champion?
If your reflexes are good, and you've got a multiple fire joystick, you'll have no trouble with Top Gun.
Wait, do you mean like this? Are you saying I should cheat, Skip?
Use the 111 for the training mission, the Tigers for mission 2, and the Hawks for missions 3 and 4.
Skip? You want to try that again?
To avoid a battle, dive or climb. No one can hit you when you're on a fast descent or descent.
Credit where it's due, this is actually true, and it's a handy way to avoid combat. Skip also makes a point to explain that the flight controls are inverted. Don't laugh, but to 5-year-old me, this was revolutionary information.
Landing is the hardest part of the game. Even Skip Rogers misses a landing now and then.
My God, he is human.
Wizards and warriors.
Make sure you make a map and keep good notes.
Wait, why are you telling me to make a map instead of showing one like you did for Splatoon earlier? Granted, I'm not as familiar with this game, so it's harder to catch anything Skip gets wrong. But he does say this.
If you can, try to find the Boots of Force. They will allow you to open any chest you don't have a key for. Very powerful.
That's true, but they're also just for straight up kicking enemies, which does pretty good damage. Speedruns of this game use these boots constantly. This is also the first game where he really starts emphasizing the amount of points you earn for doing certain things.
At the end of each level, you'll get extra points as you rescue the damsel. When you find a turkey drumstick, grab it. It'll give you extra life, which means more points cause you die less.
For those of you keeping score at home, it only took until the midway point of the video to start talking about scoring more points at Nintendo games.
It is essential that you find the lava walk boots. Even though you have to give up the boots of force, you'll need the lava walk boots for level 3.
As far as I can tell, this is not true. The boots let you ride the fire spouts, but if you stand in the lava, you still take the same amount of damage as you would without them. Most of the people I looked up who played this game, both casually and for speedrunning, just didn't bother with these boots at all.
If you're careful, you'll be able to find places where you can rack up points and gems by jumping up and down.
Useful information, I'll give Skip credit for that. The same goes for the levitating jump trick that he explained. After, for some reason, including a clip where he accidentally leaves the room he needed to go into, Skip says the Cloak of Darkness is really important.
And very important, here's the Cloak of Darkness. Here's how it works.
It's apparently important for constantly getting hit by enemies, not seeing where you're going, and falling to the bottom of the level, undoing all of your progress. He never actually says how it works, but the cloak reduces all the damage you take from all the enemies to 1, even though that's what most of the enemies do anyway. Maybe this is just how the World Video Game Champion handicaps himself.
This is a very important chest. It holds the feather fall, which you'll need to win the game. It makes you fall very gently.
This item can be found much earlier in the game, and there doesn't seem to be a reason why he waited to get it until this much later.
Go to the left spire and jump. You'll float down to the secret entrance.
Wait, did he just cut away from showing the secret entrance? I thought revealing secrets like this was part of the point of the video. Also, the editing gets really lazy here because Skip starts explaining things that aren't happening on screen.
Levitate to pick up all your points. Finally, get the other red key. Scrap around until you have enough gems.
However, he does go over a useful strategy for the final boss.
Kinda strange how this is the only game we've seen Skip finish thus far. I'm not implying anything untoward about the World Video Game Champion. I'm just making a casual observation.
The last 11 minutes or so is solely devoted to Metal Gear, another game I'm not so familiar with, so sorry if I miss anything.
Cigarettes don't do anything, so don't smoke.
The cigarettes add 1,000 seconds to the timer for the last part of the game if you use them. Does it make sense? Not really, but they gotta do something, right? Skip doesn't talk about secrets or tips and tricks for the vast majority of the game. Instead, he dryly recites a walkthrough, in which he just says to pick up items or go into a room as the video hard cuts to various parts of the game, making it hard to tell where he is and where he's going almost all the time.
Get the gas mask, take the elevator to the 3rd floor. Do all the card 1 rooms first, get card number 2. Get rations 3 times. Use card 2 to get a hint, get the missiles, get the silencer, get the grenade launcher, rescue this guy, use card 2 here, get the submachine gun.
Much of this isn't timed properly either, so he ends up explaining what to do in a room that the video cut away from a few seconds ago.
Get the gas mask ready as soon as you enter this room. There's poison gas.
This is another time where having a map on screen would have been helpful, but Skip says at the beginning to not trust the map.
And don't believe the map you get or what you hear on the radio. You'll find a lot of misinformation.
But there aren't any in-game maps in Wait, is he talking about the map, like the insert map that came with the game? Why would you not trust that?
Skip does have a couple of helpful things to say, like how the rank system works and how to stock up on rations effectively, but he also implies there are points to earn in Metal Gear.
Use card 2 to rescue this guy. It helps you gain points.
Unless he meant to say ranks instead of points? No. No, it doesn't. Then he starts jump cutting between different parts of the map, making an already tough to navigate game even more confusing. Or jump cutting within the same section. The health bar changing positions makes this really apparent. There was one thing that caught me off guard. I did not expect to hear Skip suggest a death warp to save time.
Die on the bridge on purpose to get to the right spot.
Although I guess if you're a world video game champion, this would be the kind of thing that you or the people who played these games and wrote the script for you would already know about.
Skip does manage to get the full inventory of items in Metal Gear, as long as you ignore that gaping hole where the flashlight is supposed to be. But he stops there, and again, I wonder if he or his consultants actually finished the game or they were trying to avoid spoilers. Then again, he had no problem spoiling who was working against Snake the entire time.
Happy gaming!
Said with all the enthusiasm of a guy who just wants to get out of the sound booth and get paid.
And that's it. Or at least I thought it was, but then out of nowhere, the credits flash the name of a baseball consultant. There are exactly 0 seconds of baseball in this video.
I mean, there's a base in Metal Gear. It's close enough, right?
Aside from the production value consisting of VCR recorded footage and generic text and graphic transitions and shoddy editing at times, this video's 2 biggest problems are the 2 things tutorial videos tend to get wrong. The first is assuming the viewer already knows a certain amount about what they're trying to learn. And the second is saying what to do without explaining how it works or why it works. Skip will say to do something, go somewhere, or pick up something, and when you ask how, usually there's no answer, just a hard cut to the next command. That and Skip's advice tends to follow the idea that there's exactly one way to tackle every challenge, which led to things like the bad weapon choices in Mega Man 2 or the bad equipment choices in Wizards and Warriors. While there are some tidbits of helpful advice, they tend to be few and far between, and as a whole, the video ultimately isn't very useful or entertaining.
The consolation to videos like these is they're more the kind of things that you would rent rather than buy. Although 5-year-old me would have said, why would I rent this when I could just, rent another video game with that money? Assuming that I didn't waste that money on a Dairy Queen Blizzard and some Upper Deck cards. Whatever. Till next time.